The name of the Father, Son, the Holy Spirit, one God, Amen. Today, God willing, we will be talking together about the power and the limitations to change. The title is interesting a little bit. It is called Unleashing Potential, Transforming Limitations Through Mindset Shifts. Obviously, unleashing, it means that it is already there. God already, when He created us, He gives us all the power, all the capacity, all the strength that we actually change. Transforming, it means to be renewed. When we talk about unleashing, why are we unleashing? People could unleash a dragon, a monster. People could unleash a thief. And others could unleash a new creature, a beautiful creature. Transforming here is to actually be renewed, becoming the best you can be. Obviously, there are some limitations, and the majority of those limitations have to do with our mindset. That's why we link the word limitation to the mindset shifts. We need to change a little bit our mindset. This is the title. The Bible verse that I love the most when it comes to this kind of topics is a verse from St. Paul's epistles when he said that let us all be transformed by the renewing of our minds. Transform, becoming new. By the renewing of the mind is by changing our mindset. Obviously, at the end of the lecture today, we're going to have a lovely interactive application. It is also from St. Paul's teaching, but some people took it and actually looked at it from a biblical counseling perspective. The concept is called putting on and putting off, or putting off and putting on. Like changing a cloth. We're gonna see, each one of you will think about something that he might like to put off. But for that to remain with lasting effects, you need to put something on instead. This is how the lecture will go. We'll talk about change, what changes. We'll talk about the importance of the topic. And then we'll talk about the process of a change and the limitations. And then we'll lead at the end to the application. This is the outline of the presentation. Interrupt me anytime you want. Obviously, when I say change, I was reading some articles and blogs and books. There are lovely books about the process of a change. In psychology, there is something called the theory of a change, because a change is a huge thing. They even look at it as a theory. In fact, we are invited to change, as St. Paul said, but when I go to therapy, for example, why am I going to therapy? What do you think? I'm going to therapy to do what? To change. There is something I realize need a little bit of improvement, tuning, change. Something I need to learn that I don't have. It's change of my knowledge. When families go to therapy, they don't like what they're doing now and they want to change the dynamics, right? So the word change is a huge word. The problems, one of you, and I expect Ala will do that, will tell me, Abuna, you like to confuse us. Every time the word change comes up in our meeting, you say people don't change, right? Or every time a girl comes to me and say, Abuna, I like this man, and I think that if he changes a little bit, he will be the best. And I tell her, don't make a decision on the hope for a change. So what is the difference between the two? What do you think? I'm actually asking now. I tell you many times, go ahead.
And if somebody's honest about changing, it's their idea.
Bravo Alek, that's beautiful. That's amazing. What else?
Yeah, I was about to say the same. Like, about I understand, I acknowledge that I have problems that I need to work with.
Bravo.
To be the best version of myself.
Absolutely.
But it's different when I don't see how that's coming. I don't see like the need of a change, and as a person want to change me. That would be completely
That's the best. And I think that's the key point. Go ahead.
Well, okay, the title of the topic of the
Yes.
discussion is unleashing. So those qualities are already existing. In
Yes.
the person.
I love
They just
this
need
one.
to come back.
Yes.
It's not something.
Bravo, Alec. It's basically, I already have these qualities in me. All I need is to unleash. So it is not like change as a change, but the word is transformed. Because it is already there. But it is not used as powerful as it should be. I like all these three answers. Any other comment before I say something?
Well, after hearing all of them, I can say now it's utilizing the gifts in me that are taken to the best potential.
Absolutely, absolutely. I love that. In fact, sometimes actually, when we talk about even gifts, as you said, the Bible calls gifts as fruits. And what is the difference between a fruit coming from a tree and something else that we decorate the tree with, like Christmas decoration? The difference between a fruit and a decoration is fruit is already there, but it is waiting for the proper time to flourish, to come out. Decoration is something external. So the word change here, that's why I called it unleash. Change or potential transformation. It's beautiful. I was waiting for Tasoni to say, Abuna, every time you say change is impossible, you talk about it changing the other person. Because that's the tricky part. We never focus on transforming the self, but we want to modify the other person. And that's impossible. Actually, it could be even a source of a problem. Because every time I want to tell my partner, you need to change this, you need to change that, he might become defensive. Or she might become attacked. I would feel attacked if somebody tells me, your pronunciation is wrong. Yeah, I know that I'm not Native American or Canadian. I was born in Egypt. I spent about 30 years of my life in somewhere else. How long? 29 years. Somewhere else, right? So, but I know that, but when somebody tells me, I feel attacked, right? It's our human nature. I don't feel attacked, but I'm just using that as an example. Right. When we say change, usually we cannot change the others. But we have all the power to unleash our potential. Can I say something? If I notice that my partner can be improved in certain areas, should I shy from helping? Absolutely not. Because understanding that we are in love together, we are united, when I empower, and that's the word, when I empower the partner, the friend, the mom, the dad, the son, the daughter, the colleague, when I empower him, it is much better than me demanding that he changes. Yeah, certain cases we reach a point of, if this doesn't change, I will take a different action. Even with superior, sometimes you feel superior, this must change. It's okay to do that, because we're not talking about you changing yourself. No, I'm asking you to change the way you deal with me, you interact with me. Because I love you, I would like to help you unleash your potential. And that could go easily with parent towards kids, or partners together. Someone who just came to Canada, for example, and he had a degree in his country, and that person, for the sake of his family, would work any job just to support the family. In that case, a good partner will thank him so much for sacrificing his profession, his career, blah, 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 blah. But at a certain point, there is a moment where that person needs to hear an encouragement to change the mindset, to unleash the hidden knowledge so that he can work a better job. That must be driven by encouragement and empowerment. Any question about that? This is just the introduction. When I say change, what does change mean? What is the definition of a change? Obviously, tons of definitions here from dictionaries and encyclopedias and all of that. This list you see in front of you is a tiny list from Merriam-Webster website. But what is a change? You don't need to read, or you can read if you want to. Tell me in your mind, what does the word change mean? Or what are some synonyms of a change? Based on our introduction. إيه بقى؟
Reborn, for example.
Go ahead.
Like reborn, for example.
Reborn, or rebirth, or becoming new. If anyone in Jesus Christ, he's a new creature. Sometimes I talk to people and they tell me, Abuna, I was born on that day, that year, blah, 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 blah. But my real birth date is that day. Why? Could be because it was the day I met my partner, for example. Although I will become confused. Is he talking about death certificate? Well, but, no, I mean, yeah, sometimes. Birth certificate, okay, birth certificate. Or, anyway, sometimes people will pick days they feel like they became extremely new persons. Obviously, for us Christians, the day when we were baptized, the day when we encountered God, the day we became new creature, it's the day of our new birth. For me as a priest, the day I was ordained a priest, I consider it a new birth. And I was given a new name even, right? And so forth. That's a beautiful one. What else? Go ahead, Yahan.
I believe change is not, it has to be like a big difference, like a small difference, a little modification. Like it's
Bravo عليك.
any change, it means any showing difference.
Bravo عليك. Any kind of difference is a change. In fact, we continuously change, but that's the biology. You know what? We also change in our awareness. We change in our views. هقول لك حاجة. We change in our love and care to one another. If love is steady state, solid, doesn't grow, that's a clear indication of lukewarm relationship. It will die. I tell people, especially those who are getting together into relationship, that love is like a seed. We put it in the ground the day we meet. And we water it every time we interact. We fertilize it every time we have an intimate exercise. And we contaminate it every time we get into conflict. Obviously. Planting a seed, whether I like it or not, if it is planted in the right ground, it will grow. That's why sometimes for girls in particular, their heart is a very fertilized, good ground for seeds to grow. So I tell them, you start a relationship right away. There is a seed started to grow in your heart. If you are not sure about this relationship, end it soon so that it doesn't become a tree. And then you come and say, I want to take it off, because taking a tree off is much harder. If you are sure that this is working fine, make sure to take care of your tree. Meaning what? When the season changes, tree also require change in the care. Some relationships require you to conceal it in winter time, meaning to be with your partner in a very private relationship, obviously when you are married, that no interference from outside, because the surroundings is so cold it could destroy that. When the time comes for spring and this and that, some leaves need to be taken off. That's a change, right? And the leaves are, yes, go ahead.
Mary can help me for my English. So for teaching, for example, when we came here, the manner to teach in Egypt
Different.
was
طبعا. Absolutely.
and the clients here are not the same.
Yes.
So we change, we do adaptation, we do
Bravo عليك.
differentiation to
Modification should
not
not
can be full.
yeah.
So the other synonym of a change that Nirvana is presenting is adaptation. We adapt. You know what? Imagine your life journey together. If teachers do that with teaching, engineers and doctors and all of that, everybody adapts to the new environment. Relationships also needs a adaptation all the time, tuning all the time. When we get together, the first time we meet, it's a honeymoon phase. Oh my God, I wanna spend millions of dollars. Not on you, يعني, بس millions. I would like to have millions of dollars to spend, but I mean, I'm willing to spend money, I'm willing to go out, I'm willing to spend hours and hours. But the nature of the relationship that we move from that phase to another reality phase where, no, we need to take life seriously a little bit. It's not always honeymoon. Then we move to a conflict phase where each one of us need to adapt. The word adapt is an amazing word.
You have to do plans for
To plan ahead. Hala will tell you a different word like adjustment. Hala likes that word because of her dental experience. Teachers like the adaptation and the planning for the lessons and so forth. From time to time, if my tooth is not really surfaced right, I need to grind it a little bit just to make sure that it doesn't hurt. مش كده؟ طيب ايه تاني؟ قولي يا حبيبتي.
Yeah, I like the idea of planning because for teachers, for instance, the children need to know what they're to expect. So
Bravo.
if they don't tell them ahead of time, well, in 5 minutes we're going to get ready for recess, then they'll have a
Absolutely.
hard time.
Ahead of time, which is raising the awareness, that's the beautiful thing. Here in Canada or US or even in Europe, education system is different. In Egypt, before I go to my next year, I know what are the subjects for the year before, and I can buy old books and study during summertime. My parents will torture me to get مش عارف ايه. Here you cannot do that because it's more of I'm really serious. I'm really serious. طيب ايه تاني؟ What are the synonyms for a change?
So I try to simplify it in my brain. I will say changing my mind is intentional or non-intentional.
Okay.
Replacement of a reaction to a stimulus through behavior, action, understanding to a previous one. And I'm not sure if that's always a good thing that happens or bad thing, because some of them are not intentional, and some of them they creep on us and find that we are changing, not to a better person.
Oh, that's a beautiful point. Sometimes change happens, but not to a better me. It could be to a worse me.
Non-intentional,
Even non-intentional.
and it creeps on you
Yes,
in response to stimuli around you.
yes.
And if you're not careful to extract yourself away from these stimuli, you'll find yourself a person that you don't.
That's a beautiful point. That's why, hopefully at the end, I have a few words to say about how can I keep my eyes on the process of a change, that I can evaluate every single step that I am achieving a better me, not a worse me.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful thing. Go ahead.
It could be like a what do they call it? Aha moment.
Sure.
Like you wake up one morning and then you think, oh, this is not right. Like I need to be taking care of this or doing that differently or balancing things different. So it can be just a moment of realizing something already needs to change or something already you're thinking of, but you're with the busy life just kind of putting it under the rug all the time, and then
Yes, absolutely.
at some stage you have to
You know,
pull the plug.
you are describing now the stages of a change because there are many classifications for a change. One of them is the 5 stages. First step in the 5 stages, or stage number 1, they call it the pre-determination or the pre-contemplation, which means I live my life, everything normal, blah, blah, blah. I don't notice that there is any need of a change. Then comes phase 2, which is contemplation. This is the aha moment where I say, you know what? Something needs to change here. And then determination. I determine what exactly and how. And then actions. And then the phase 5, which Allah is talking about, the maintenance, is to make sure that I don't go back, sliding back to my original self, or to go to the worse me. So my change need to go in that direction. That's why if we are talking about change in our church, as a priest, as a congregation, as, we must have a model that we are changing to. That's the motto of our lecture. The power of a change is basically I am being transformed into what? St. Paul in 2 Corinthians 3:8 will say, but we all with unveiled face, beholding as in a mirror the glory of the Lord, are being transformed into what? Into the same image, from glory to glory, just as by the Spirit of the Lord. What does it mean? What is that same image?
Too complicated.
Yes, but what is that? Obviously every word needs a lecture. Yani unveiled face, that means I am not ashamed of anything, of my flaws. Or there is no barrier that prevents me from realizing what I'm changing to. Or unveiled here, it reminds us in the Old Testament with the veil that separated people from God. So I go to God with unveiled face, meaning I see Him face to face and I transform into the same image of who? Of Christ. That's the image. عشان كده we take what we call a Christ-centered approach. My goal? Go ahead.
Oh, is this the word that keeps coming up is reorient? Like
Sure,
change?
absolutely.
I think it satisfies a lot of what people are saying in terms of like
That's the summary of what everybody was saying.
turning towards something, or even if I'm looking at this Coke bottle from this perspective,
Yeah.
I go around to the other side and can see it in a more holistic
Wow.
perspective. So, when you talk about reorienting yourself towards God.
That's beautiful. Actually, sometimes all it needs is, as you said, reorientation. Or taking a different position.
Changing your focus.
Changing your focus. Refocus the mind. Or in that case, I would use the word in the verse to give it a more of a biblical flavor. Taking off the veil. Because I take off the veil, whether I go behind the veil, or I completely take it off, or I sneak underneath to watch, anyway, I'm taking off the veil. Veil that separate me from what? I love what you said. Because there is a veil that separates me from seeing God who really is. But based on the title of our presentation today, where do you think that veil is? What does that veil prohibit me to see? We say that the title is unleashing. I think the veil prohibit me from seeing who truly I am to be, what is my power, what is my strength, what are the gifts that God gave me, what is my potential, what I can achieve and accomplish. Honestly speaking, there is a veil that keeps telling you, you cannot do it. You are not good enough. You are not strong enough. You are terrible. You are stupid. You are, obviously you are not telling that out loud, but I hear it in confessions and I hear it in counseling sessions. That's the veil. There is a veil that prohibits you from seeing the amazing person you are. The image, actually, the image here he's talking about, the image of God. Where is that image? Honestly speaking, the day we were created, the Bible says we were created on the image of God. So it is deep inside you. That's the core of our identity. To be transformed into that image is the proper way of change. How can that relate to a relationship? In any relationship, a husband and wife getting together into relationship, if the husband sees that he is Christ in the relation, Christ who loves, Christ who sacrifices, Christ who bear the pain, Christ who provide for the family, who protect and support, who does everything for his wife. That's the unleashing of the power of the husband. What about the wife? When she sees herself as the church, who loves Christ and does everything for him, who respects him whether he is present physically or present without seeing him, who loves him, honors him, cares for him, provides for him, guides him sometimes,
Fixes him.
sometimes. I was waiting for you to say kills him sometimes. No, but you see, that's the veil.
The repair shops of the husband.
But that's the veil. That's the veil.
Repair shops.
Okay.
You go there and you get fixed and you come out looking good and feeling good.
Obviously, as we heard, the most amazing word, reorientation. And that's why it has all to do with our mindset. Our mindset to be transformed.
But what's that veil, Abu?
Eh?
What is that veil that we want to remove?
I think it could be many things. It's a person by person case, but
My ego, is that my
that would be one. My fear could be one. Because sometimes, honestly, it depends on our attachment and our upbringing. Most of the time. If I am raised in a family where my parents don't give me enough encouragement to be who I am or to have liberty to act and share my opinion, I'm always questions, and in that case, the veil would be my fear. Could be fear of rejection. Could be, as you said, my ego, anything. But it's case by case. But end of the day, it's whatever prevents you from seeing the amazing individual you are. To recognizing the power that you hold. The capacity. Yani when the Bible said that God created us for purpose. Each one of us has a purpose in this life. Not knowing that. I was watching a comedy show a few days ago. I like to watch Biden when I'm disappointed عشان بس get some. فhe was talking about artificial intelligence. And he was saying, for God's sake, anybody who can throw coal into a furnace can learn how to code artificial intelligence. Obviously, the link is huge, wide link. But in his mind, he would think that anybody who has the capacity to work can learn even to code the most sophisticated computer code. That's true, by the way. But learning will help you to that. You already have the tools, adapting, reorienting, and all of that. I know that I stayed a lot in my presentation for the introduction, but that's the foundation. طب أنا كنت عايزة تقولي حاجة؟
No, I was kind of saying like it's good to see the end of the project so that you can see.
That's
the
it.
purpose.
What is the end of the project بقى? What is the end of our change? It's the image of Christ. Actually, this is, if you want to talk theology, if you want to take human relation, if you want to take sociology, psychology, anything, honestly speaking, the image of Christ being the center, the goal, the focus in anything. Imagine I deal with my wife as Christ-centered relationship. Everything I do to her, I know that I am doing it directly to Christ. Everything she does to me, to Christ. Meaning our love, our respect, our honor, our everything I do to any of the congregation, I'm dealing with Christ. Everything the congregation deals with me, they are dealing with Christ. How amazing would that be? It will be a utopia. مش كده? This is the heavenly life. Type. Obviously, there is someone once said, if you think you can do a thing or think you cannot do a thing, you are absolutely right. I will add in both cases. What do you mean? What do you think? Tina.
It's more about if you believe about yourself.
Bravo, Arik.
Yeah,
Or if you don't believe in yourself.
exactly.
So you do believe in yourself or you don't believe in you. That's it. That's a beautiful thing, isn't it? Tell me, why do you fail or why do you succeed? Oh, I tell you, it's your mindset. مش كده? It's your mindset. No matter, برضو forgive me ان انا اقول كده, no matter how many, myself and Tasoni, try to help others and especially women to learn how to live this life, a lovely life with their husbands and so forth. If people reject the idea you are not helping anybody because you cannot help somebody who doesn't want to be helped. You want to succeed or fail, it's in your mind. And you are right, by the way, in both cases. مش كده؟ طيب. Limitations. What would be the limitations? That's the veil بقى. What do you think is the limitation to change? The easiest limitation of all time is A.
To me, it's just being perfect all the time. You think you're perfect. Why do you need to change?
I don't need to change.
Just
Yes.
blinded with whatever you have, and you think, okay,
Absolutely. That's
blinded
So-
into that.
your wonderful awareness of your own value is, or your own success
It's
is
just blinding you
Sure.
from all the things rotting inside.
that's absolutely right.
That you need to take out, otherwise,
Yeah.
start being smelly.
Yes, and I think everybody need to change to reach my level, right?
That is a higher level. Really, that's the arrogance itself. Like,
That's the beautiful point. Ethan, what could be standing against your change? Go ahead.
History.
History.
So if you've had a history of failure,
Yes.
you think that you kind of develop a self-fulfilling prophecy, and you think that,
It becomes part of your identity.
yeah,
I tried many times before, I failed. Who said that I'm gonna succeed this time? Go ahead.
Judgmental of other people.
Bravo عليك. Surroundings could be actually a big block in our change. Encouragement will help you, and discouragement will go ahead.
It was already said, but I was going to say your own household.
Yes, the enemy. There is a verse that I love actually. It says that the man's enemies will be those of his own household. Obviously, it is not like you live with a thief in the house. No. The person living beside you could actually be your enemy in that case because he's standing against you unleashing your potential. Or forgive me, a nagging husband or a nagging wife could be the enemy for you to change to have a happily ever after life, and so forth. It goes with the religion as well. Go ahead.
Just another point to this. Sometimes we look to change the stuff unchangeable. So
Yes.
I have behavior. Yes, I can change my behavior. I can learn methods. I can learn style to change my behavior.
Bravo عليك.
But for example, I need to change my personality traits, which is gonna be
That's impossible.
so. People sometimes doesn't understand that.
Yes.
I keep pushing myself. I need to be this way, otherwise I'm a failure, and that's gonna be reverse.
Absolutely. This is beautiful. Go ahead first.
Or some parents will force their kids to be a doctor. You have to be a doctor.
Yes.
But he can't.
Absolutely. Imposing a change or a potential goal on somebody who doesn't have the mind for it. My mind is always analytical. Maybe I don't. Can I share with you a very personal family secret, but never share it with anybody?
it's just only your mind.
Tasoni is an amazing music teacher. Stephanie, when Tasoni was pregnant with Stephanie, she will be playing music. مش عارف ايه. Stephanie was born to actually have the most amazing taste of composing music. So she will write songs and compose melodies and all of that. I myself love to listen to music. But I have always wanted and longed for and dreamt and cried to learn how to play any single chord. But every time I try, whether طبعا asking their help or hiding in the basement, it is terrible. My music, well, it is a music. But if you consider noise to be a music, yeah. I can't. This is not like, it is not in me. I can't. Imagine Bata Sony will tell me, if you love me, you need to learn how to play music. You should have said that when I proposed. Yeah. Yes, sometimes I cannot learn حاجات مش بتاعتي. As Sarah said, personality traits in particular, I cannot change that. But also, as she said, maybe I learn how to adapt and modify my behavior, my reaction. It's like a native language and learning a second language. That's it. Personality is a native language. Behavior is a second language. I can learn. Maybe I'll be awkward a little bit, but I'm trying to help. Personality, I will never, ever change that. Maybe I can learn how to control it, conceal it, all of that. Is that what you meant? That's beautiful. Go ahead وبعدين أسامة.
Okay, like some parents would compare their children to other children.
Yes.
Because you're not, because
Absolutely.
you're not white, you don't know how to do this. And they give them this.
Maybe when parents want their children to change to be similar to another person
Yeah.
or to be a copy of their own. I've seen this case actually, and it broke my heart. I don't know يعني how to share these stories, but I can tell you that people 65 and above will cry in tear because their parents force them to be similar to them. And now after they wasted their life, they succeeded professionally. But mentally they are destroyed. Sam,
Well, very much similar, putting like unrealistic goals.
high expectation.
Yeah. High
Yes.
expectations. Yeah. So that would be one of
Absolutely. I want to actually, somebody landed in the moon. I want to land in the moon myself. Yeah, but يعني, let us land on Earth first and then we can land on the moon after. Absolutely, Habib. Go ahead.
I totally agree with everything. I just have a comment about I can. I would love to say it or phrase it. It's not for me.
Sure.
Because I can do another thing the other people can't do it, which it's not for me, and the other thing not for them. So I met with a friend. She has 2 kids, and the first one is like a doctor, becoming a doctor and studying and very
Yeah.
smart. And I don't like to be a smart because it's education. It's
Sure.
like
He has the mindset to, yeah.
smart as well. And the smaller kid is like feeling very small because he can't achieve what the oldest one.
Yes.
And when I said, but you have or many skills your oldest doesn't have it, he was so surprised that
Absolutely.
acknowledged that you have something.
It is because throughout their lives, everybody told them that unless you are this profession, you are worthless. That's why you're surprised when you say, oh, this is lovely skills. Becoming this or that is amazing. As long as this is your full potential, right? There is somebody, actually his name is Thomas Jefferson, said a lovely thing. He said that nothing can stop the person with the right mental attitude from achieving his goal. Nothing on earth can help the person with the wrong mental attitude.
So then, when you were trying to play guitar, what was your attitude?
I wanted to be like my wife. I want to fit in with the family. No, I love music. I felt maybe because I am smarter. If they know how to play it, maybe I can. I'm just kidding. Right, let us move to the importance of a change. Come on, we need to change mindsets because this will help us to be better, to grow, and all of that. We need to change for personal growth. I learn everything. I learn something new every day. It is helping me to grow. I can study something. I can learn certain techniques. I add to my CV, not to brag about my credentials, but it will help my own personal growth. What I like about teachers in particular, they must do something called personal development all the time. Taking classes, taking workshops, and I think everybody needs to do that. Professional development, yes. It will help also overcoming some challenges, especially if I'm talking about changing behavior. It will help improve relationship, especially when I talk about changing myself, not the other person. It will help your career advancement. When you acquire knowledge, you have a degree today and you get a master's or a PhD or acquire any kind of knowledge, even a 3 days workshop. I remember one day I was part of my master's, they wanted me to take something called assist. An assist is how you talk to somebody who has a suicidal ideation in the moment that he is committing suicide. And how can you diffuse the plan? Obviously, I said to myself, this is not useless. I will do it just for the sake of the master's degree. And then I went for 3 days workshop. I did it. I learned a lot and a lot and a lot. And one day, I drive my car, and all of a sudden, I found somebody who was about to commit suicide. يعني somebody was standing at the bridge trying to jump. You can't imagine how I appreciated that assist training on that day. Another day, I was driving my car in front of somebody's house, and then I knocked the door. I never do that. I never visit anybody without a phone call. But on that day, I decided to knock the door without any planning or anything. I don't know why, but that's what came to my mind on that day. I entered the house and people were crying because they told me they were praying at this particular moment, asking God to either intervene or something terrible will happen. And I used that diffusing plan techniques. Obviously, I took it that God wanted to save this family without planning. Sometimes we learn and acquire knowledge. At certain point we utilize them and we know the importance. Financial success, pursuit of happiness, stress reduction, health and wellness, enhance creativity, building confidence, and so forth. Type. Yeah.
Small comments.
Yes.
Like the two cases you just mentioned, it says obviously that's we have the responsibility to use what's available for us
Absolutely.
to serve God.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So changing is one of our responsibilities.
But let me share with you something. If you don't have the proper training, the proper skills, the proper knowledge, actually sometimes intervening here could cause damage and harm more than you think. Maybe before I wait for the day that somebody is standing at the bridge jumping, and then I call, is there a course about assist? Maybe I know that this is a struggle that we see, and whether I'm a priest or a servant, I can take some courses, even if I feel like I will use them once, it takes once to appreciate. Do you see what I mean?
Yeah, I understand. I'm saying
I know.
changing from the first
Absolutely.
is a responsibility to do to serve God.
Absolutely. طيب أنا I started to run fast I don't know how recipient you are to what I'm saying. Should I slow down? Should we have part two?
I think we should slow down, Abuna, and take part two, because we started with the introduction and it just opened our minds, and now we are into what we can gain out of this. So if we
let me move طيب to the last.
as we can pick out of it.
No. Let's just for today's sake, we'll stop at this point. We're gonna just take our reflective application where we talk about pot on and pot off in 5 minutes, and I will open the door for whoever wants to share, but the rest of part two we'll take it next time. But just because I mentioned pot off and pot on,
Yeah.
I don't want somebody to change clothes in the church. I'm talking about something else here. Now, what is pot off and pot on? Pot off and pot on, it talks about how while we exchange our clothes, we're actually taking off an old one and putting on a new one. The process of a change, whether we are a changing mind, changing attitude, changing behavior, changing thoughts, changing actions, changing anything, we need to take off something and replace it with something else, putting on something else. I did that exercise with the youth in the youth meeting, and I told them, tell me something. Maybe you want to change your mindset about something. What are you going to take off? And what are you going to put on instead? And they did an amazing job on that day. So now I want to hear you quickly, a few of you share with me. If you want to take off something, obviously that you want to change, what is it that you want to take off? Doesn't have to be your personal experience, could be thinking about your other virtual friend. Okay, go ahead.
First, I would like to take off the critical glasses
Okay,
and put glasses that are grateful. So when I see the action, I don't need to dig into what is wrong in this, what's behind it. I would love to learn and see what is beautiful in this action and leave the critical part to somebody else who is more.
That's a beautiful thing. Actually, that's an amazing thing, and it speaks to today's sermon as well. Taking off a critical eye. A critical eye is an eye that only sees what is wrong and tries to correct and comment. I want to take this off because nobody likes a negative person. What about me? How can I do that? In every situation in this life, there is the good and the bad. Why don't I focus on the good first? And maybe in a due time, I can share my thoughts on the bad in a nice way. So for today's, what you want to take off is that critical eye that sees and criticizes, corrects, comment on the bad, and start to see the good. That's a beautiful one. 18. Samaritan woman, Jesus told her, ignored all the bad things and told her, you rightfully said that you have no husband. It was true, right?
He's very clever.
It is
He
today's.
was really, really clever.
He was pure and gracious. Actually, let us take off the critical eye and put a gracious one. Gracious one that maximizes the good. That's a good point.
You said the truth. That was just like
That. What else? I'm gonna put my eyes my glass عشان أسيب. What else? Another example. I wanna hear anybody who did not speak. 18. What do you wanna take off? Maybe I wanna take off laziness and I put on active behavior. أي حاجة. I wanna take off. Should I?
The old man and
The old man and put the new one. I wanna take off some websites from my phone and I replace them with some other websites. مش كده؟ I wanna hear you. Go ahead.
I want to take off my giving out to change.
Yes, I wanna take off my veil to change, and I wanna really see that I can do it. I can do it through Christ. 18. I wanna hear few of you عشان بس يبقى خلصنا و I feel إن إحنا we have a successful lecture. This is the part where you guys talk. Not that you haven't talked before. لا, you have بس. Go ahead يا حبيبي.
Take off my focus on the past, focus on present.
برافو عليك. برافو عليك. I love actually you are playing music to my ear today. One of my mottos is in our life we are sitting at the driving seat, and while we are driving we never focus on the mirror that brings the past. We need to focus mostly on the future, the front. If I keep staring at the past, I will end up in accident. Mentally, psychologically, life experience, all of that, actually spiritually. I already repented. Why do I dwell in my sins? خلاص, I repented. I don't need to remember them every single day because they might be a trigger for me to fall again. When David said that my sins at all time before me, he wanted to protect himself from falling back, sliding back, or pride. But I don't need to remember the sins. Sometimes when I do remember the sins, I fall in them again, especially in my youthhood. Thank you. 18. One more would be done. قولي طيب.
I always work in how to find what's me and what's not me. How I keep maintaining his boundaries and work, especially because sometimes I feel like I give more than I should do. And how I always remind myself that that's my boundaries and I shouldn't be exceeding. And also, and as a relationship, the giving and taking, how it's going to be balanced.
Bravo عليك. Taking off the Blair invaded boundary and putting on a clear boundary that is healthy, that will protect me and also protect others. That's a beautiful point. 18. أي حاجة تاني؟
Can you give us an example of this boundary?
So sometimes in a relationship, you give too much in a way that you're going to blame the other party about it. But I give that, I did that to you, and you did never appreciate it. So from the first place, you should know where are you standing, where you should giving, and if you give, you have to recognize that's your choice, not to blame others about it.
Any other final thoughts?
before I want to go home, can we go back to خطياتي أمامي في كل حين?
Yes.
Because this is extremely difficult to understand. Maybe in the Old Testament, because Jesus was not on the cross and he did not take off our. I find it very difficult to continue saying my sin in front of me all the time, and at the same time, I go to Abuna, confess, go to communion, and see the Lord on the cross carrying my sin, and you want me to remember it again.
But
What kind of deal is that?
obviously, it is part of Psalm 50 when we're saying, my sin is at all times before me. But it is a reminder of how great God is, how amazing His cross is, because He covered our sins through His blood. So this should trigger in us an appreciation of the sacrificial love. The problem is, sometimes we focus more on my sin is at all times before me and forget the love, the cross, the forgiveness, and the purity. If خطياتي أمامي, or my sin is at all times for me, doesn't lead me to appreciate and praise God and thank Him for the cross, it is doing something wrong. Number two, in a spiritual life, especially in our adulthood age and youth, and sometimes certain sins, if I keep remembering them, they will be a trigger for me to fall back again.
It beats you. It just eats your life.
I will fall back again. That's why we tell people, there are Amba Moses, Bishop of the Youth, had a lovely analogy that I love. He said that sometimes the thought of the sin comes to you just to hook you until you fall. Even it doesn't have to be only like impurity. It could be anger. I remember a situation, I was talking to my wife yesterday. We ended up in a heated discussion while I'm driving my car. For example, I end up yelling in my car because I was turned into anger. She's not sitting beside me. But the thought, the recall of the story triggered me to go into anger. And that's not خطياتي أمامي في كل. That's not the beauty of it. A youth who might fall in impure sin, if he remembers the sin or the person or what I call the trigger, he will end up falling in the same sin again. So what I say, usually Amba Moses, actually, that what he said that imagine these hooks like a fly coming to your room, you ignore it completely. Don't interact with it at all. It will leave. As long as you don't allow it to come and build a nest in your head. That's the point. So there is wisdom in remembering the sin, and there is wisdom in forgetting the sin. Why I like my analogy of the car? Because from time to time I will look at that mirror at glance, and I tell people in a relationship, a conflict, since we already cleared it and apologize and reconcile, we don't need to bring it up again unless we are about to repeat the same story and fall in the same mistake. So we can bring it up to remember how terrible it was and end it. Like changing lane. We are making changes. You look at the mirror just to remember that there is clear passage for you. But you don't stare and focus on that. I don't know if my answer is clear.
I got this.
Go ahead.
With addictive behavior too.
Yes.
Somebody does something to kind of like soothe themselves.
Yes.
Right? And then they're ashamed of it now.
Yeah.
So then they go back to the addictive behavior.
Yes, that's
Medicate,
beautiful.
they feel shame, and then they go back.
Falling back in addiction or rebound ولا rebounds ولا relapse happens because people relive the experience again. They are told not to even go to the places. You want to forget about it completely. يعني somebody who's addicted مثلا to alcohol, خلاص you are healthy now and you don't. They tell him never ever go back to wherever alcohol is being served. That has nothing to do with your empowerment or no. We don't want you to relapse.
And sometimes they let them cut this friend.
Sometimes you cut the friend and the connection, and because you don't want any influence. In that case, خطياتي أمامي في كل حين, my sin is at all time before me, becomes with negative influence than when it was positive. That's why in our Orthodox faith, in our Christianity, in our spiritual life, we always embrace wisdom. How far I remember, how much I should. It's the balance of the wisdom. You see, all the comments you made today are amazing because you have a wise mind. That's beautiful. That's amazing. Wisdom is one of the best. Do I remember my sin or I forget them? Wisdom will tell you the amount you need to remember and the depth you need to remember. You see what I mean? Go ahead.
Yeah, I believe my sin is in front of me all the time. It's a thing of humbleness
Sure.
as opposed to sin.
Yes.
Because King David, I think he was kind of he thought